Good evening and welcome to episode 4 of the Private Property web series in partnership with PPC. I'm your host, Uzamantongwa Khumalo. It's the 4th episode of the special series that we're running with PPC. And of course, one of the things that we have to tackle, a lot of us finding ourselves spending quite a significant amount of time in our homes, and we're probably seeing some of the things that we want to change and upgrade, and it's created an opportunity for even some of those DIY, homemakers or DIY enthusiasts to make some of those home improvements. This evening, we're going to be looking at the value of, making sure that you extend your home efficiently, you use the right products, and you also just understand the opportunity that this COVID-19 crisis has given us to better take care of our homes and make some of the changes that we've probably always wanted to make, but couldn't quite find the time to make. Of course, if you've missed some of our other episodes, do go back and catch up on those episodes. We really are taking you on a journey of making our homes warmer, better, safer, and making sure that we go about it the right way, from choosing the right contractors, working with good quality products, and also saving money the right way. And one of the ways that you're going to want to save money is, of course, making sure that you're not just buying quality products, but that you also get your money back. You're probably wondering, how is that even going to be possible? Well, you're going to have to stay tuned to find out how you can make money back by just buying really good quality products from PPC. I'll share how you can go about doing that later on the program, so do stay tuned. Well, this evening I'm joined by Charles Murray, who is the PPC General Manager for Ready Mix, who joins us this evening, to help us better understand some of the things that we need to be mindful of when we're doing our home renovations and home extensions at home. Good evening, Charles. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you, Zama. It's a pleasure to be here.
Now, Charles, when I think about home renovations, even home extensions, a lot of us, we've been, in our homes working throughout COVID-19 crisis. We're going to still be in our homes working throughout, because even though we're slowly seeing the country opening up, we know that some of the, various offices are saying actually stay at home. We're seeing that productivity is still actually up, and people at home are, seeing the different things that aren't working in their homes, and really wanting to find different ways to go about making sure that their homes look better, more efficient, and also have little home offices. Perhaps take us through what some of the things we need to be mindful of when we think of a home extension, because there's so many different things that you could do a home extension on, whether it's an additional room. There are already different things we need to be considering, but what are some of the top of mind things that you first just need to get out of the way when you start thinking about doing a project in your home?
Yes, Zama, thank you. I think, I'm also a homeowner, so we always have plans to change a few things, etc. That's not working, as you correctly say. But, doing home extensions can be anything from going double story on your garage to an extra room in the house, or just simply by try to remove some of the walls and making the room bigger, or even sometimes a larger room making it smaller. Yes, the time of COVID has all brought us back to our homes, and we look at how things can be improved. Obviously at PPC Ready Mix, we can assist you in that. I think a lot of customers think when they see these mixer trucks driving on the road, it's only for the larger projects. It actually started off, if you think about the history of concrete ready mix, it started off with larger projects, the so-called customers or the so-called contractors. They actually started off doing their own concrete batching on site for the larger work. But we serve small customers. We can batch from 1 cubic meter to any size you require. And I always ask people, do they understand what we do? A lot of people can make food, as an example, cheaper if there's no waste. But from a convenience factor, we sometimes buy takeaways, or we go eat out in a restaurant. The same with when you bake a cake. If you do it efficient, you probably can do it cheaper by buying it at a specialty shop. But sometimes the convenience factor of it is important. So ready-mix concrete is convenient. It's just in time. It's on your doorstep. And there's a lot of other factors that needs to be taken into account. If you mix concrete yourself, or your builder, he needs to buy a load of sand, a load of stone, and needs to buy cement, sometimes in pockets, and then mix it on site. And there's time involved. It sometimes mess up your garden. You know, with concrete, you can actually deliver it. If you need to deliver the concrete at the back of your home, we can organize a boom pump. It's a pump that can reach up to 42 to 48 meters, and it's quick. You can do it within a half a day, and that's the convenience factor of ready-mix concrete.
And you know, Charles, as you were speaking about ready-mix, and I like that you pointed out, one of the first things you pointed out is it's not only for the big construction projects, because I know a lot of people probably think we see these big trucks as we're driving, whether it's on the freeway, and you sometimes even see them in these big construction sites. It's definitely something that you don't think that would be suitable if you're just doing your own home, renovation, or you're building at your home. But knowing that that's something that's actually available even for people who are doing smaller projects and not just bigger projects is actually so important. And I want us to talk a little bit, Charles, about that PPC ready-mix, because I'm sure viewers at home are probably used to, and even I'm used to this one, where the contractor that you're dealing with buys the various bags of cement, and they buy the sand that you need, and they mix it up at home. You're already talking about the convenient factor of some of the things that could potentially go wrong. Perhaps take us through the efficiency of using PPC ready-mix as opposed to doing it sort of, I'll say, the old-fashioned way, or the way that so many of us are used to, of having all the various ingredients bought and then having the contractors starting the project.
100%. So obviously, when you do your own concrete, you're reliable on a contractor or other labourers to mix it for you. And then there is obviously on the PPC cement bags, there's instructions at the back of the bag how to mix it in what proportions. But people don't always follow that proportions. And then the biggest enemy of any concrete that you mix is water. So how do you control the water? Obviously, too much water dilutes the concrete, and then also have a question mark about the strength of the concrete. So that is the downfall of mixing concrete on site if you don't have proper control over that, and especially the tap, the water. We at PPC Ready Mix have we call it batch plants. That's fully automated, and that weighs off the different ingredients. It's like a cake. If you don't follow the recipe, the cake will flop, or it won't taste the same as the original recipe. So you have to follow the exact ingredients to the millimeter or milliliter to actually get that recipe right. And with concrete, it's exactly the same. So we supply you the right strength of concrete, and it's measured off correctly. We control the water at the batch plant, and then we obviously deliver it in the mixer trucks or spinner trucks. We also then give you the right class or strength of concrete. When you do a home extension or renovation, we would prefer that you use an accredited builder or contractor. Depends on how large or small the project is, and they will specify the right strength of concrete, and then we will supply that strength of concrete. Our industry, or the strength of concrete, is accredited or regulated by South African national standards, the SANS specifications for concrete. So that builder should take, we call it test cubes. It's a small sample of concrete to make sure you get the right desired strength on a 7-day results and a 28-day results. We are obviously liable from a supplier point of view if you don't reach those results.
And I actually quite like that, Charles, because I think so many of us probably don't take some of those things into consideration. I want us to go for a quick break, and when we come back, I want you to share some tips for viewers at home who've probably become DIY mini contractors, because I know a lot of us have almost picked up various hobbies along the way and thinking we can take certain things into our own hands. Some of the mistakes that we should be avoiding if you want to become, if you want to be a DIYer when it comes to doing some of those home improvements in your home, because it is important that you understand everything that goes into doing your own home, especially if you start taking matters into your own hands. And Charles, one of the things you actually mentioned, and I know I'm very guilty of this one, when you look at proportions, and this is why the ready-mix product actually appeals to me so much, because when you look at something like proportions, I know when, for example, I bake, and it's a nice example that you used, is that sometimes I'll read a recipe and I think, man, I can just tweak it here and there and it'll still be fine. Maybe add a little bit of extra sugar, add a little bit of, extra flour, and then the final product doesn't look like the picture that I'm seeing, whether it's on the blog that I'm following. So the importance of use at home, understanding that when you're working with something like cement that really is quite a precious product to be working with, you want to be as certain as possible. So being able to even access ready mix does become so crucial, and it's also just become such an efficient way for you to go about doing your home renovations. It gets delivered at your door, so it's also quite convenient for you. So we're going to go for a quick break, and if you are at home and you're doing your own home renovations, maybe you've also started taking things into your own hands, share what your experience has been. What have been some of the mistakes that you've made as you literally take things into your own hands in order to improve your home? I know a lot of us are working from home, so there's so many things that we're seeing that are wrong that we've probably been putting back and back and back, and now that we're literally living and working at home, we definitely want to attend to them. Share those with us as we keep this conversation going. We're going to go for a quick break, and when we come back, we're going to look at some mistakes that we want to avoid for all of us who've become DIY enthusiasts when it comes to fixing those issues we see in our homes. Welcome back to the Private Property web series brought to you by PPC. I'm your host, Uzamantungwa Kumalo. Now, before the break, we're talking about, doing home renovations and taking things into your own hands. And of course, to help us better understand what are some of the things that we need to be mindful of, what are some of the questions that we need to be asking contractors that we're going to be working with. I'm joined this evening by Charles Murray, who's the PPC General Manager for Ready Mix. And, I want us to actually look at, Charles, what are some of the mistakes that we're seeing people at home who take things into their own hands that they're making? Because I can imagine a lot of us, as we're saying, COVID has meant that we're spending quite a lot of time at home and we're trying to find different ways to change our homes and make different alterations. So what are some of the mistakes that you've seen that DIYers tend to make when they do some of their home renovation projects?
Thanks, Emma, for that. I just want to give the homeowner some tips when it comes to renovations and obviously using concrete. In most instances, we use a builder or somebody of that sort, but we as homeowners also need to educate ourselves. A lot of people think they know concrete, and with no disrespect, but concrete you need to treat sometimes with gloves and make sure you do the right things, because can do permanent damage to whatever you do. So a few tips, if you do it's all about the preparation. So if you do a floor, for example, or you want to do concrete driveway, etc., it's all about the preparation. So meaning the ground conditions underneath where you want to cast the concrete is very important. Normally the contractor should take some of the existing soil out and then backfill or compact with a proper material from a quarry or a fill material, or we refer it to a G5 as an example, because the compaction of that is key to what you want to eventually achieve. I've seen too many people doing a concrete driveway, a few years down the line, it's all cracks, etc., and then they replace it with pavers. Pavers are small blocks that can actually allow the ground to move below it. So it's your preparation of the ground that's key. The same applies to a floor you're casting, even your foundation. It's key that the contractor actually bring in I call it a foreign material that you don't find on your property. You pay a bit of money for it, but you compact it properly, and that's important. So that's point number one. Your preparation, your ground conditions, very key. Then secondly, I'll advise any homeowner, you must look at your contractor or your builder. Say, listen, what steel are you putting in on this driveway or floor? Normally, a mesh is sufficient. The thickness of that driveway or floor is always also key. It will vary between 150 or 250 millimeters thick. If they go less than that, raise a question mark, definitely. And then so on a bigger size floor, I'm not going to go in too much technical detail, but especially a driveway, which is sometimes a long area, we call it so-called saw cuts. They need to cut in the concrete. It's an expansion joint basically to allow, if there's ground conditions or that moves slightly, it allows that concrete to actually also move with the ground conditions. When you do the bit more higher end extension, like a suspended slab on a first floor, normally that should be designed and signed off by an engineer, approved, so because they design it, and they should check the steel fixing before you can actually cast the concrete, not after the event. That's very important that the engineer signs off the steel that goes into the concrete. Concrete and steel combined gives you the strength, not concrete on its own, not steel on its own. Concrete's got good compressive strength, steel got good flexural strength. So the two combined, you can actually do a suspended slab for quite a big area. Then on any concrete, when you place the concrete, the contractor should have at least some form of vibrating equipment to, and we call it a poker vibrator, which is well known. You can hire it at any of these equipment hire places to actually vibrate the concrete. The reason for the vibration of concrete, there's a percentage of air in your concrete, and you need to get that air out. If you don't get that air out, it can weaken the concrete strength and the strength of the concrete. Then concrete needs to cure. There's various ways of concrete. Once you've done the floor or slab and it's properly floated, the easiest way is to cover it with plastic. Sometimes people also, after the concrete is set, put some water on it, and they probably tell you as a homeowner to water the slab or the foundation every day. That will help with the curing of concrete, and especially will help with some surface cracking. The reason surface cracking happen normally at a homeowner is because the temperature of the concrete inside and outside is different, and also because of wind and factors like that, which dries the concrete out on the outside quicker than the process or chemical reaction that happens inside the concrete. So curing is important. It will give you a better lasting product. These days, in the old days, they tend to leave the foundations or the slab of a house for a month. Concrete has changed, technology has changed, chemicals we add. So you normally, rule of thumb, you achieve 60% or higher on 7 days. So if you design a concrete for 30 MPa, if that's your foundations, you should reach 24 MPa after 7 days. And that's why people sometimes, we say, but why do they start building the wall so quickly? Yeah. Because you can actually achieve that higher strength in a week. So that is some of the tips I will say that homeowners must be on the lookout. We don't expect them to be concrete specialists, but just ask sometimes the difficult questions for the contractor or builder that is helping you with this home renovations.
And Charles, before we even get to some of the questions that we probably should be asking, I like how I asked you, the question that I asked you was around the mistakes that you're seeing a lot of homeowners making, and you went straight into here are the tips. And we often make jokes on social media around wanting a man with a plan. And here you are giving us the plan instead of beating about this bush and saying, here are the mistakes. You're saying, here's the plan. This is what you should be doing. So those are certainly the opposite. Those are the mistakes that you definitely don't want to make. So if anything, I think you've taken us through, this is what you should be doing. Don't even think of the mistakes. Here's what you need to do in order to make sure that you have a very successful home project, and it doesn't matter what the scale is. And one of the things that I want us to touch on a bit later, Charles, because you've mentioned a nice variety of different kinds of projects and the different kinds of, I'll say, materials that our homeowners are going to be using. We've spoken a little bit about ready-mix, but I know that PPC also has a number of other products that we're able to tap into given the nature of the project that we have, and we'll talk a bit about that. But something that you touched on is those questions to ask your contractor, because I'm sure we're now thinking, we've heard a few technical terms that you've thrown at us, understanding what happens even when your slab is being built, making sure that water is being put in. That's of course something that your contractor is going to be doing. But what kind of hard questions should we be asking our contractor, whether it's at the beginning of the project and as the project is going on? Because the reality is we don't know what we don't know, and more often than not the contractor does know more than us. So perhaps just a few insights of the right questions we should be asking along the way that will put our hearts at ease and make sure that we end up having a home that we're proud and happy of at the end of the project?
Yeah, I think one of the things you should ask your contractor is what is the strength of concrete they're using. I'll say when you do floors and foundations, they mustn't go below 25 MPa. So for a house, obviously it depends on how many stories the house is, but for a normal double-story house, the range of concrete you'll use is 25 to 30, maybe sometimes a 35 MPa. You shouldn't need that, because that should be sufficient for any application. So the question that arrives from that is to say, okay, show me, as Mr. Contractor or Mr. Builder, show me that we actually, and show me that you actually achieve that concrete, that strength of that concrete. Now, what they normally should do, though, is they sometimes use an independent lab, we call it, and they have services to come to site. So when we cast the concrete, as an example, they take a small test cube. It's a sample of concrete they make test cubes, and you can get 7-day results and 28-day results. 28-day results is the results we want to achieve. We as a company we design concrete. If it's a 25 MPa, we put in a safety margin. We actually over-design the concrete from a safety perspective, and you should achieve, let's call it, close to the 30 MPa if you buy 25 MPa from us. So that's very important, important. And as I said earlier, the rule of thumb is that you should achieve 60% of that design strength on 7 days. And then, so your builder or contractor should give you that result. So if there's something wrong, it's better to ask the difficult question and say, listen, are we going to achieve the strength of this concrete? If it's a column or a floor or a suspended slab, doesn't matter. It all should, and we as suppliers, we need to honor our commitments and say that we give you that strength of concrete, and it should achieve that strength of concrete. Sometimes things can go wrong, but normally there shouldn't be any issues. So that's for me the key one when it comes to the difficult questions you should ask your contractor or builder. The second one I said earlier as well, and I want to allude it again, especially when you go suspended slabs, the engineer definitely needs to sign it off and design that slab, and needs to sign it off before you pour concrete, not after the event, because he then looks at the steel. There's some very fancy mathematical calculation on the amount of steel you use per square meter, etc., etc. But it also depends on the load bearing of the walls, the length and the width of the slab. A lot of other factors are taken into account. It's not just a simple calculation.
And Charles, one of the things that I want us to look at, and it's something that you've also pointed out, when you look at the product range from PPC, one thing is certainly clear, is that you're selling convenience, especially when it comes to time, and really making it easier for people at home to be able to be rest assured that throughout their whole project, they're not only using quality products, but it's also convenient for them to access those quality products. And as you were saying earlier, there's quite a variety of different kinds of home renovations that you'd have. I mean, you've even given us a few examples of different kinds of products, rather different kinds of projects that you would be doing at home. Perhaps take us through the different types of products that are quite convenient to viewers at home, that they'd be able to tap into, that they can use throughout their home renovation projects.
Yeah, so we don't just have a one-fits-all approach. We got fit-for-purpose concrete. When you need a mix that's more flowable, because you got less labor, or it's very difficult to get in that area, as an example, we can give you a much more flowable mix that you don't have to use a lot of, let's call it, less labor. We can add a few nice things to concrete. Some people think concrete is just a dull grey thing. We can add a so-called pigment or something you can color, and then when you want to apply that, it can, for a floor or whatever, you can have a different color floor. I think, a lot of, if you look at architects, they tend to move to more of an industrial look, a modern look. If you have the right flooring contractor, you can float that floor that it looks like a piece of marble.
Those look so amazing.
That looks very amazing. You just need a bit of a epoxy over it just to seal it, because then it can be used. You can actually then hose it off with a hose pipe. And then you also get the so-called polished, exposed, polished concrete floors. They use a diamond cutter or polisher, and it takes off the top 5 or 7 millimeters of that concrete. And then you actually can see the aggregates, the stone and some of the sand particles in it. And that looks really like a granite top. It must be done correctly. Our mix for that is slightly different than the normal floor mix, because you want more cohesion between all the different ingredients in the mix, and to give you a nice smooth a finish that looks nice, and there's this good cohesion in the mix. Yes, we can. We also give our clients sometimes a mix that can be pumped. It's slightly more expensive, but then you have the convenience of something that can travel through a boom pump to a different area that's very difficult to reach at your home, etc. So we also, from a ready mix perspective, we do a dry pre-mix for mortars and plaster, which is called sure mortar and sure plaster. And that the convenience of that, yes, you still need to mix it yourself. The convenience of that is a very high-end product. The sand that goes into the mix goes through a burner, and all impurities in the sand basically gets incinerated. You know, any organic material, any clay in it, and so you've got a product that's pre-mixed with the right proportions that you can just mix yourself, and you can apply it. If you obviously have a good bricklayer that uses the mortar, or a good person that can plaster, that's key. And especially if you look at your home, you know, if you look at the surface area that you see the most every day is your walls. And that starts with obviously good bricklaying, and then secondly the plaster before you put on the paint. So if you have the right product, you'll probably have very little cracking, surface cracking on your plaster, and that will, you know, help you to improve the quality of your home, the finishing, because a home is all about the finishing. An empty shell doesn't look great. You know, the finishing and exactly the walls, as I mentioned, is a key ingredient in your finishing.
Well, Charles, I think one thing that's definitely clear is that PPC doesn't only sell convenience, but it also sells, you know, convenience for time, and making sure that, you know, viewers at home have quality products, and certainly a wide range of products that viewers at home can tap into, regardless of what your home renovation project is. And if anything, I think this has been quite helpful for those of us who are looking at, you know, jazzing up our homes. Maybe you want to add that home office, and understanding that there is a wide range of various products that you're able to tap into, and it doesn't matter how big or small that project is, that it is going to, you know, save you time and be quite convenient. And of course, I did promise that I'm also going to share how you can save some money. But before that, I want to thank Charles for joining us this evening. Charles, thank you so much for joining us this evening.
Thank you, Zama. And you remember, 20 to 30% of our volume comes from the small homeowner, the small builder, and we're there for them. And it's not just the larger contractor. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Charlene, and that's such an important one. So even, you know, products like the ready mix and all the other products aren't only for big contractors, but also small scale contractors. So you and I at home who are doing a home renovation in our very homes, and it doesn't matter whether we're adding those additional rooms or a cottage, or even just doing, you know, an internal house renovation, you certainly can access a wide variety of products from PPC. Well, I did promise you at the beginning of our conversation that I'm going to share with you different ways that you can save money. Well, PPC has the Sure Reward program that gives you money back for every bag of cement that you buy. Yep, you've heard right. You're going to be able to get money back for every bag of cement that you buy. So make sure that you get, you know, your PPC bags of cement. And of course, if you want to find out about how you can sign up for that Sure Reward program, we have shared those details down here below. And we're going to leave it there right here on this private property web series brought to you by PPC. PPC. I do hope that you enjoy your home renovation and really make your home as homey as you want it to be, and make sure that you use quality contractors and also quality products. And of course, PPC has those very same products that you're going to need to do those home renovations. And all the best. Of course, do share some of those pictures after your home renovations. We definitely want to hear and see some of the great work that you're going to be doing in your home.